You know, I liked Rogue One quite a bit, and one of the things that I really love about Rogue One is that opening scene where you have Krennic and the father talking to each other, and like in that dialogue you get this sense that they've really known each other for a long time. It's like definitely two people, whether they're friends or not, you can tell that at one point they were friendly, but regardless of that, they have tons of history together. Was that something that you guys gave some kind of like fun talk behind the scenes about what their relationship was prior to the film starting?
So that scene is something that went like any movie, or certainly with this one, went through a lot of evolution, but it was actually the very first idea that Gareth and I had for how to open the movie. And we talked a lot about Inglorious Basterds. And if you remember the opening scene of that movie, you'll know immediately what the similarities are. Christoph Waltz, the Nazi, comes to the French farmhouse and everyone's terrified. And we wanted to kind of capture that vibe. And it's very, and yet a lot of people didn't capture it. But as soon as they say Inglorious Basterds, they go, oh yeah, like you can totally see the influence there now. We kind of wanted to have that kind of opening. And so actually the very, very first scene I wrote in the first draft of the screenplay was that scene, the idea that Jen, a young Jen, and her mother and father were living in this, distant farmhouse on a remote planet, and that Krennic basically came and tracked them down because they needed this engineer to help them fix this problem. The Death Star production had basically stalled, and they needed an expert to come and help them, fix the problems they were having. That was all the very first stuff that I wrote. And I remember when the trailer came out, and I saw that image of the Krennic shuttle flying over Jins as she's running through the grass. That was one of the very first scenes I wrote. And to see it actually brought to the screen, even just on a YouTube trailer that I was watching, like I cried. I was so emotional. Oh my God, like this stuff is becoming real. But again, just to kind of speak to the collaborative nature of it all, in the version of the script that I wrote, Krennic and Jin's father didn't have a pre-existing relationship. They just knew that he was known to be he was an expert engineer that they needed to bring in extra people, and Krennic was just going around kind of grabbing, expert engineers to kind of, Shanghai them into Imperial service. Basically, he was like, "This is not a choice. You're coming with us."
Right.
And then it was the work of, I think, mostly Chris Weitz, then also Tony Gilroy and some of the other writers that worked on it uncredited. The idea that that there was a pre-existing relationship there, that was something that got layered on after me. But the basics of it, the Inglorious Basterds, the farmhouse of it all, Krennic coming to basically press gang an engineer into Imperial service to build this terrible weapon, that was all there from the very beginning. Literally one of the very first things Gareth and I came up with.